So just a minute.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Please, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, sir. We can hear you.
Yes,
all right.
we
Thank
hear
you. All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest speakers and our esteemed participants from over 100 countries across the globe, good morning, afternoon, and evening to you all. My name is Hayatuddin Muhammad Abdullah. I'm the information officer of this university. And I have the honor to welcome you all to our online international conference on the theme, Research Informatics, a Model of Research Methodology. The program is organized by Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria as part of an effort to promote knowledge and scholarship in the field of research. Therefore, before we continue, I would like to have some protocol, to observe some protocol by introducing some of our people, our participants here for recognition. First, I have the honor to introduce our president, that is the president of Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria, in the person of Professor Dr. Muhammad Israr. Also here, we have the honor to introduce to you the Vice Chancellor of Franco-British International University, Kaduna, who is also here with us. He is Professor Abdullahi Sabu Muhammad. I also have the head of human resources of the university in the person of Hajia Maimunat S. Bello.
Hello.
I also have the secretary to the president of this university in the person of Hajia Basirat. All right, then let me introduce our guest speakers. First, I will have to say that this conference is a unique one because this is the first time in the history of this university that we have 3 guest speakers who happen to be all women. So this is to say that women are given priority in this university. All right, I have the privilege to introduce to you the first speaker, who is Professor Nada Ratković. Ratković is the assistant professor at the Department of Quantitative Methods, Faculty of Economics, Business and Tourism, VI University of Split, Croatia. Please, can we have a round of applause for her? She is indeed an international scholar. She has published so many articles in reputable journals. And she is also at the same time an adjunct faculty in this university. So can we please have another round of applause for her? And the next person is Ms. Rana Khan. She is the assistant professor at the School of Foundation and General Education, Canadian College, Kuwait. And she is also an adjunct faculty at this university. Please, let's appreciate her.
I'm giving my opinion, then I will. Okay.
The third person is Dr. Megha, and she is an associate professor at the Department of Computer, Languages and Systems, University of Seville, Spain. Okay, these are our resource persons. And as I mentioned earlier, they are all adjunct faculties here in this university, and they are international people. They are internationally recognized. They are erudite scholars, so to say. Thank you very much for taking your time to be with us. We are really honored to have people of your personality as our guest speakers in this conference. Moving to the next item is the welcome address by the president of this university, Professor Dr. Muhammad Israr.
Thank you, Hayatuddin, for this wonderful remark for our international workshop on research informatics, module of research methodology. So, first of all, I am very happy to share with all of you for to attend this workshop. There are 11,402 participants registered from 103 countries. It means we cover almost 50% of the world. I am delighted to welcome you in this one day international workshop on research informatics, a method of research methodology. We are thrilled to have you join us from all corners to globe to explore the exciting intersection of research and informatics. We will delve into the latest advancement, challenges, and opportunity in the field, and we are excited to learn from each other experience and expertise. You will be our impressive speaker on today journey. I would like to thank and acknowledge all the delegates and the support team who have worked hard to make this workshop a truly successful one. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started on this intellectual journey together. I'm delighted to declare this workshop open.
Thank you very much, sir, for this remarkable opening remark or opening speech. Before we invite the first presenter, I would like to mention that we are going to have 3 papers today, and 20 minutes is dedicated to each paper. So please, I would like to beg our resource persons to try, and I know you have a lot to say, to keep your presentations to 20 minutes, because we are going to have question and answer after each paper. So I would like to give the mic to the first presenter, who is Professor Ratković, for his presentation. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Ma. Sorry.
Thank you. Warm greetings from Croatia. Really honored, blessed, and grateful to be here. Honored to me today to open and be the first speaker on this, I can say, extraordinary workshop where we have such a lot of attendees, participants from more than half of the world. Then I want to thanks to our great President, Professor Dr. Muhammad Israr, the President of Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria. Thank you. Thank you, sir, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for giving me honor to be the adjunct faculty member of this amazing university. Today, as I'm starting first, I go through this research informatics, a model of research methodology, and I will empower the research through data and technology. So, Professor Nada is coming from Croatia, working at the Faculty of Economics, Business, Tourism, Split, also working in a high vocational school, very active on the national level, European level, and global level. Today here that want to learn together. Thank you, Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria. Once again, this university, you have a great opportunity with a university with a great mission, with a great vision. So offering to the world well-educated and talented leaders and captains of industries by providing affordable and accessible qualitative education. This is the mission. This is the mission, and we have this vision for the global good of this. So more than now, 19 undergraduate programs this is university is offering. So today, knowledge is life, and this university is really knowledgeable, visible all around the world. taking care about the quality education, taking care about the all SDGs. So as you see, we divided 17 SDGs in three parts: in economy, society, and environment. But when we are talking about the sustainable development, we need to say that each one is correlated. But we cannot talk about decent growth, we cannot talk about strong institutions if we don't say no poverty, well-being, life underwater, in the water, and all of this 17 SDGs. So the question is, first, what can you do today that you couldn't do a year ago? What can you do today? Let us see, what will we do? So we have many things what we can control. It is coming and depending about us. It is depending about our motivation. What is our aim? What are our life aims? So be thankful for yesterday, be grateful for today, be hopeful for tomorrow, because today, new day, new way, new belief. We have such a lot of things that we cannot control in our professional life and in our personal life. So let us think about this and let us always be motivated and inspired when we get up from the bed in the early morning. This is very important. We need to know this. We need to know about research informatics, about this model, about this research methodology. So gathering the data, collecting information, we are making different changes. So as we are starting with this topic, we first need to know what is research informatics, what is the role of the data. We know that without data today we cannot do nothing. We have a lot of informations around us, but which informations are correct? How to choose a correct answer. So how to manage, how to analyze, and how to preserve this research data. So let us start from this definition. Research informatics. When we say research informatics, we already say that we will use technology. So it is using technology, information technology in the process. And we have a different tools, such a lot of tools. We have a great summer model. We, before in the COVID, I say before, we had the opportunity to choose such a lot of digital tools. And still today we have this opportunity. So purpose is the same. We want to increase the complexity of the volume of the data in research. We want the data just now, but that is always for us a problem. Problem is how to collect the data. So for all of us researchers, we need to handle, analyze, interpret data more effectively. So what are the key concepts in the research informatics? So we have the life cycle. We have the life cycle in education, in entrepreneurship, in engineering, everywhere. So we have here the data life cycle. We are talking about collection, creation, analyzing, sharing, and presentation. So this is the importance of the digital tools. So let us go through each of this more important life cycle things. So meaning of collection, we are gathering the data, we need this data. So today we have a lot of it depends about which methodology we will choose. So when we are making quantitative research, so we have different methods, but we need to remember methods are not same like methodology. Here we can use surveys, experiments, internet of the things. Then we need to organize data in the future for different ways. So we have this, how to define this and how to use this. Analyzing. Without analyze, we didn't do nothing. The number didn't mean nothing for us if we don't put that, if we don't use statistical computational tools. We have a lot of statistical tools. We all are using SPSS, Stata, View, views, different statistical tools. Then today we have an opportunity through machine learning models to learn. Then sharing this data. So this is important for the research community. So we all need to collaborate. We need to all work together. Then we have how to store the data. So we collect the data, but what happens if we don't store our data? We will lose our data. So we want the access for the future research. So this is the data life cycle in this. Then we have different tools in research informatics. We're talking about the data management, how to manage our data. So we will go through this DMP tool, which is using for the planning of the data management in different fields. We can use it in different fields. Then we have, like example, analyzing software, coding with the Python, with R, for the statistical analysis, using infographics, visualization, and different softwares. So unfortunately, many of them are user friendly, but many of them we don't have. We have, like example, little things. In the free version. Then collaborative platforms, like example, this YouTube for the version control and collaborative research. What is the benefit of digital tools? Professor Nada cannot imagine doing nothing without using technology today. Really, sometimes I try to do something without it, but again, I use something from this digital tool. So it is true that they are improving communication and collaboration between us, and this way we are in the contact. Then we have these different workflows. So our diagrams, our workflows, our thoughts, we are presenting by them. Then our work is more creative. So we need to think today very deep. We need to think outside of the box. So for that, we need a creativity and innovation. Uh, Thinking and supporting the ethics, taking care about the quality. So this is the way how we want to make better productivity and how to make the effectiveness work by us. And living in this rapidly changing world where every day we have news uh, with artificial intelligence, and with all of this we are in big challenges. So if we want to collect some data, we can use, like example, open science framework. We have this red cap. Then for data management, we can use DMP tool. We can use dataverse, but we have difference. I say data analyzing, R, Python, SPSS. For math, we can use MATLAB. So this is a big help for us, and we really need to know how to use this. Then we want to share and make a collaboration. So we have the Google Data Studio, we have GitHub, and we have different. Like example, Professor Nada is teaching the statistics, all statistics subjects. So, like example, before we start research, we can use digital tools on different way. So first, if I want to make a evaluation, if I want to make a research, what is happening in the field, in different fields, like example in engineering and economy, I will use one of this Office 365 thing link. If I want to make it more creative using Padlet, if I want to make a mind map, Puplet, Booblet, Kaggle, then for the evaluation, for the feedback, different Google Forms. Then for the infographics, we have Canva, pick the chart. Then if I want to make my web page with my research, I can use WordPress, Wix. Advertising on the social media. Then if I want to make it very humoristic in a form of cartoon, I can use Powtoon. Then I can make it in the YouTube. Putting advertising for the digital marketing, I can make use Google AdWords. And if I want to make my own newspapers, then I can use MailChimp campaign and more of them different. So the key concepts in research informatics is, as I said, data collection first, then data curation. Again, I am repeating this because this is very important to remember. Why collecting? I say it will capture your data in a structured form. Then you need to make it, and you need to organize, and you need to document that. Then you are making a analyze, so you can choose some of the statistical tools. Sharing your data, so also your data can be shared to build some others, to make new others. Also you can make and use different, you can use combinations. I never use one digital tool, I always use many digital different tools. Then you can make that in the, you can storage that in the repository, which is very important. Let us see why data management plan is important, because it is really a formal document. So it is a living document, it is a living document, it is giving us uh, a help, it is a big help. So this is something like if we want to make some project, and if we don't make a business plan, marketing plan, finance plan, this is for us a data, for data we need this data management plan. So remember, anytime your research plans change, you should review always your DMP. You need to review your data management plan, because it is really inquiring you this, and this is important for you. Here I put like example from the site. I make this use this for the explanation. So each one data management plan needs to have the general things, the take care about the ethics, how to document this, how to store, make a storage, how can it be accessible to you, and for that responsibility. So you see here with different questions: where does your data come from? Who owns your data? How do you document your data? Where you store and back your data? Then what happens to the data at the end of the project? Do you have that data? Do you store that data? And what will be and who will be responsible for that data? So this is the crucial questions, because research data life cycle is saying reuse, plan, collect, capture, process, analyze, publish, share, and preserve. This life cycle is supporting the DMP, which you need to get each one answer, because if you stop, if you don't get the answers, you already have a big problem. Then this is the DMP. So it is free. It is a free open source platform. You can create it. You can try after this workshop, because we don't have a lot of time. Professor Nada cannot go through all these digital tools. Maybe another time we can choose one tool by another by tool. So make more workshops. So for us, pardon, for us researchers, we can create a plan very quickly and easily. And you see, it has these tools for researchers. Then it has a mechanism how to register to the DMP. Then it has the best practices, so you can participate in different organizations. You can click through the wizards to create your DMP, and it is really very easy. So why we can recommend this DMP structure in all fields. Like example, if we are talking about the computer and information science and engineering, it needs to have this types of data, data and metadata standards, data storage, policies for access and sharing, and provisions for appropriating, protection, privacy. Then policies and provisions for reuse, redistribution, plans for archiving and preservation, and roles and responsibility. This is one example for the DMP structure for computer information science and engineering. If we talk about economic, behavioral, social science, then it is different. It is different. So we first need to define the roles and responsibilities. Then we are expecting some data. Then we have this period of data retention, dissemination. Dissemination is very important. If we don't disseminate that, it will not be. We will not have a good result. Then the storage, again, we need to make data storage, and then data management requires. So with this DMP, we need to use the fair data principles. What it means, fair data principles? So it is the meaning findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So let us see what each of them is meaning. So findable is the data has rich metadata and it is really unique and persistent identifier. It is using for identifying, including this like DOI. So we all researchers have our own DOI. So we can be found by the DOI. This is important. So this is the meaning of findable. You need to be findable through the disciplinary on the portals. Then you need to pardon. I'm a bit sick, so I apologize. So we have this accessibility. What this means? This means that it needs to be open. So if it is not open, we cannot come to this. So we have these privacy concerns, we have the security, we have the interest. So this is for the humans and machines. This is same for the humans and machines. Then we have this interoperable. What it means? It means that we can use community, we can involve different language, we can involve different vocabulary, we can share it, we can do this. So metadata are always describing our relationship to other data. So this is very important if we want to share that information between the identifiers. Then we have this reusable. So reusable means that it needs to be a clear machine readable license. This is very important. So how to provide this rich and this accurate information. So it needs to use a license and it needs to have all information. So how the information will be formed and how the discipline will be go through this. So our FAIR model is shown through the FAIR workflow project. So you see, we have here we cannot talk about this FAIR if we don't mention the research design. Then we have this data. We need to use the data management plan. We need to have this registrations and for the applications. How if we want to experiment and if we want to make these things around. Here I put one case study, data management in biomedical research, because research informatics today is very crucial in in the biomedicine. So the background is here. The trial here we have more than 10,000 of patients across multiple hospitals which are generating a lot of amounts. So they are including medical history, lab results. So this is a clinical trial on cancer patients. So this we are talking about the patients on cancer. So how to manage this data, how to implement this tool. So here are the challenges: data volume. So what about this data volume? What about the data security? So it needs to be we need to manage this patient information, then take care about the privacy about these patients, how to integrate this. So we are combining different we are combining the data from different hospitals. So and using and finding the patterns, how to complex this data. So collaborating with team across different locations, because this is what we cannot do alone. We need informations about all of this 10,000 patients. So it's for us, it's helping us. We have a solution. One of the solution is electronic health record. It is EHR. So EHR informatic tool. It is a software. It is clean and it is structured to give us data for this trial for the 10,000 patients. And we are making this data integration and managing this through, and how we are making this through, again, this is going through the DMP tool. So our DMP tool and our plan will be here, how to storage and manage the data in the repository, taking care, as I said, about the patient privacy. That is same when when we mention that we have the GDPR regulations, we have this famous HIPAA. So this is for the personal and access. Data analytics and AI. We come to the artificial intelligence. So not only artificial intelligence, we use here machine learn algorithms. They can help us for making these correlations between the between the patients, genomics, and how they are treated, and about the outcomes. So here, machine learning, you can use, like example, the TensorFlow, the Scikit-learn, and there are a lot of different tools. Collaborating, and it is a real-time access. So we have this GitHub, and we have different notebooks. Even we can use and from the Microsoft the notebook. So if we want to store it in the central repository, sharing for the future research. So after this, we can include it and we can continue. So others researchers can continue doing on this. So many science could reuse, many science will reuse this data for sure for their further research. Outcomes are, I say what is very important for research informatics. So also for this case study, increase efficiency. So here the information are 40% are compared before more than better than the traditional method. So then improve the data accuracy, faster insights. It is very quickly, I can say, better patient outcomes. We have these different research groups which are collaborating. Also, we have these regulations between teams. So when we conclude this case study, we can say that this case study really highlight how informatics is dramatically today improved. So we get a quality, we get efficiency, especially if we are talking about this biomedicine, and this biomedical research is handling this. So the integration is very important. So this is very important to make there. So take care about the ethics in the research informatics, data privacy, data security, and many fields. We have this ethical consideration. So for the future, we have a lot of innovations. We are talking about AI, big data, blockchain, AI in research, big data in social science, blockchain for data integrity, and others. So you see, we can have a smile, we can be sad, but I'm sure that today informatics is essential. We have this process, we have the machine learning to get a pet, we have these collaboration platforms and data sharing repositories. Think big, use design thinking, understand, explore, materialize. This can help you. Design thinking is correlated with innovation and with all. So this research informatics are increasing this efficiency of research workflows. So let us ask ourselves, where am I going? How am I going? What's next? Try to think about yourself. Try to make a balance. Don't get yourself to burn out in your work. And you have always choice. Try to use your choice. Your intuition will help you to see, because you have the courage, you have the humility, and always believe in yourself. There is not word I don't. You always need to say, I did it, I can do that. So for all of you, my dear participants, really thank you. Thank you for being with us. And here, there's the magic in all of us, choosing the right magic university for you, for our Maria Abacha American University of Nigeria. The admissions are now open for the new academic year. Apply, and be a part of this amazing university. So, thank you. We come to the questions and answers. And Professor Nada would really ask you, if you can, scan this code, because your feedback is to me very important. I need your feedback on my workshop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma, for keeping to the time. And we thank you for making this excellent presentation. This is indeed a masterpiece that you've just presented. Thank you so much for taking your time to make this presentation. We really appreciate that. And I'm very sure our participants online are so enthusiastic to ask questions, because you made a remarkable presentation, which I'm sure many people would like to ask questions for clarification. But before we give them the opportunity, we are going to delay the question and answer session to the last item. After each presentation has been made.
Okay.
So because of the time factor, I would like to invite the next presenter in the person of Ms. Rana Khan for her presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. A very warm welcome from Kuwait. As our hosts have introduced me, I work at Canadian College Kuwait as assistant professor. And thank you so much for giving me this amazing opportunity to share my experiences and to contribute to this research informatics module. Dr. Nada just talked about so much information that we can utilize through digital technology and make use of it in doing research. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about how to use technology, since this research informatics workshop is also about research methodology. So I decided to talk about the ways and methods of research. So today my topic is going to be literature review as a research tool, because many times we wonder what kind of research methodology we should use, what research methods we should employ in doing research. So let me walk you through my presentation very quickly, give you an overview. So first of all, very quickly, I will try to define research design and literature review. And then why literature review? Why should we go ahead for literature review as a research methodology? And finding the right kind of questions. This is one of the most difficult things many times. And then what next? How should we read and analyze literature? And once we have done that, how can we write a literature review? And what are the steps involved, the structure? And then the conclusion part of literature review and the final checklist that we need to make sure that we are in the right direction. So the first part is defining research design. Research design basically refers to an overall strategy which is utilized to answer research questions. A research design typically outlines a theory
Hello, our participants, please. We're very sorry. I think, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, she's back. Thank you.
Yeah. So let me, my slides are here. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, I think there was some kind.
Yeah, we realized that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let me move to the next slide. Yeah, so I was talking about the research, defining research design, which basically refers to an overall strategy utilized to answer research questions. A research design typically outlines the theories, underlying theories and models for a project, and the research questions to undertake that project, and a strategy for gathering that data and information, and a strategy for producing answers from that data. When we talk about different kinds of research design, we can employ a lot of different types of methods. There are different ways to do research. First of is descriptive research, which could employ case studies or naturalistic observation survey. There's also correlational method, which could employ case control studies or an observational study. We have experimental method, which could involve a field experiment, a controlled experiment, or a quasi-experiment. We do have reviews, which could be a literature review or a systematic review. There's also something called meta-analytical review, which is also one of the research designs. But today we are going to look at literature review as one of the research methodologies. So if we were to define literature review, I would say that literature review can broadly be described as a more or less systematic way of collecting and synthesizing previous research. So you need to have some kind of previous research which you are looking at. A literature review is a critical analysis of published sources or literature on a particular topic. It is an assessment of the literature and provides a summary, classification, comparison, and evaluation. So you tend to compare different pieces of literature and provide a viewpoint on it, which is based on your research question. The literature review is generally in the format of a standard essay, and it basically has three parts to it: an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. So the question is, why should I go for literature review? Well, first of all, it determines what has already been written on a topic. So it helps you prove yourself. It also provides an overview of key concepts, identifies relationships or patterns. So if you're comparing different types of literature, it allows you to look for relationships or different types of patterns there. It identifies strengths and weaknesses, and once you do that, you will be able to find a gap, because when you do research, you need to find a research gap there, and that is where your research fits in. It also allows you to identify any conflicting evidence. So if there is something which is conflicting with what you are presenting, and also provides for a solid background to a research paper. So this is the reason why we do literature review, because it allows me to prove my point through the work of other people who have already conducted research on that field. Then the most important question comes: how to find the right purpose or the right question. This is one of the most challenging parts, because before I start research, I need to have the right kind of research question. How can I find the research question? What could form a research question? Well, in groups, you can always discuss with your friends, your colleagues, what could be your research interest. If there is something that interests you, you could use that as a research question. What makes that research question interesting? In a general sense, what makes a research topic interesting for you? And what is the point of a literature review? This becomes basically the most important part of literature review. You could form questions on unusual topics, because research is always presenting something new. So you could form a question on unusual topics or topics which have research gaps. And they can come from problems which are very common around you, something on which nothing has been written so far, and it is a topic of interest to you. And how do you know you haven't missed out something? Sometimes the existing research could have a gap, and you need to find that gap. There are millions of possible gaps. Once you find that gap, it could provide you with the right kind of research question. Once you have the research question, you need to investigate or re-examine the literature that you're going to review. How can you justify your research question with the literature that you're presenting in your review? Does it test a prevalent assumption? Or does it retest or re-examine previous findings? We are talking about the research question that we have decided. Or does it investigate an issue of social importance? Does it address a practical problem or challenge? So we need to ask these questions when we are investigating or re-examining literature, existing literature in our review. Now, it also raises a question how to form a good research question. Well, good research questions usually should be few in number. There should not be too many questions. So at the most, 2 or 3. So you could have one main question and 2 sub-questions. And the most important thing is they should be very specific, not very broad. They should, of course, be clearly linked to your literature review and methods. Always avoid questions which have an answer like a yes, no. They should not be dichotomous. So if you're using a question, for example, does OneNote impact the learning progress of students and prepare them for unforeseeable conditions? It's not a good question. You should say, how does one note impact the learning outcomes? If you're using a yes/no question, then add something like, to what extent? You should not have yes/no questions as a research question. And of course, they should be answerable in the context of your study, should be very clear and specific. There's an example of question, a good research question on social policy. To what extent are changes in child mortality driven by social policies as opposed to structural factors like economic growth, income inequality, and women's power? Or another question could be like this: what are effective social policies for reducing child mortality? So always try to have questions which are based on how or what, rather than having a question like does or is, which has an answer for yes or no. Once you have finalized your question, the next step starts searching the literature. Have a good understanding of the topic. This is also where Dr. Nada presented a very good informative session on how to collect and store data. So, but before you do that, you need to find the right places. Find few key articles, which you can, of course, as the information provided by Dr. Nada, look in good databases, search engines, browse journals, talk to colleagues, because from there, sometimes you can get some good information which you could use in your literature review. When you are collecting all this data or information, read a lot and distill. Take out certain key points. Note the relevant sources that are cited and retrieve those sources later on for writing your review. You could find all this kind of information for your literature review and publication genre, peer-reviewed journal articles, authored books, edited books, government documents and reports, working papers, and popular media, and also, of course, websites. Now, once you have decided where to find information, the question comes, how many sources? How many sources should I use for my literature review? Well, it depends on what point of study you are. For example, if you are an undergraduate, you should basically look for, say, 5 to 20 titles. But if you are on an honors dissertation, you should go maybe for 20 to 20 plus titles. But if you are above that postgraduate level, then you should go in for a master's thesis. Then you should go for 40 plus titles, maybe 50. So this is very important to understand what part of research you are in. Then once you have collected all those sources, you need to read it. Critically read with an eye for key points. Look for arguments which are presented rather than for facts. And while you're reading, make this very clear that you need to take notes and you need to store them in such a way that you can retrieve them later on for your literature review. Organize those notes. You can make a matrix. I'm going to flash a matrix, an example of a matrix, what kind of matrix you can use to store your data so you can use it later for your research. Make sure that you're noting down the publication title, date, authors, names, page numbers, and publishers. This is an example which usually I use. So I can see on the extreme left, I use the name and publication, and then I copy and paste the information that I might like to use later, and then paraphrase and summarize it so I can refer to it when I want to. I always make different kinds of Excel sheets which allow me to look at the same literature in a different perspective. Once you have the information, now the point comes for analyzing that literature. So what are the questions that come to your mind? What are the key terms and concepts that you're exploring? How relevant is the literature that you're reviewing to your specific topic? Are there major relationships and patterns between your question and the research literature that you're reviewing? How has the author of the literature that you're reviewing structured the arguments? And how authoritative and credible is the source? What are the differences and similarities between the different parts of literature that you're reviewing? And if there are any gaps, you need to point them out, because this is where your research question comes in. This is an example of a template that you can use, where you can put all these different criteria and then put in all your information. And once you have this information stored, you can always come back to it and utilize it in writing your literature review. Now comes the structure. So most important step, the first step is writing a good thesis sentence. This is like, like a hook with which you catch the reader's attention. It's like one of the most important introductory sentences that will introduce the topic to the reader. And it also presents an overall perspective or argument that you're presenting in your research. And as I mentioned, there are 3 parts of a literature review: an introduction, a body, and conclusion. So what goes on in each section? So when we talk about introduction, it generally has 3 parts. First is the background of the research, which talks about what is the background of the research country where you are presenting research. Is there a special educational background which is really important and crucial to you? What is the setting? Are there any special interests which are very crucial for you? Why is the research important for you? And what are the criteria used for your literature selection? What were the methods? What were the criteria that made you choose the typical literature that you're using for review? And of course, we also talk about the organizational plan of our literature review. The second part of introduction consists of the research question. So mention the question that you would like to explore in your research. And before you move to the next step of your literature review, in the end of introduction, you need to mention the organizational plan or structure of your entire paper. In the last para, introduce a plan you will follow in the body of the literature review by telling you what goes on in every section. It's like a plan or a layout. The second part is the body of the literature review, which consists of basically the research question and the methodology you're going to use. The first part, the research question, is basically focuses on the theoretical underpinnings and principal questions which are you're asking, how relevant it is to your research, how is it supported by and in relation to older existing research of other people, what is the primary data supported by secondary data from others. So you provide primary data, which is your data, and then how is it supported by the secondary data of other people? What are the differences and similarities between compared researches that you are providing in this body? What are the gaps that need further study? This is why your research steps in. And of course, make sure to mention the method that you're using and that it really sets in with your research question. You need to match both of them. If there is something lacking, you need to adjust them accordingly. Make sure you justify your methods with reference to your research questions. How does each method help answer your research question? Do they complement each other, or is it that just one method is enough for your research question? In conclusion, make sure that you have the main agreements and disagreements presented in the conclusion part of your literature review. If there are any gaps or areas that need further research, you have to point them out in that part. And you also need to mention the challenges and research limitations, whereas you also need to mention an overall perspective that you have from this literature review. Final checklist is very important. You need to do a final check before you conclude your research literature review. Did you outline the purpose and scope? Did you identify appropriate and credible literature? Did you record the bibliographical details of the resources that you used in your paper? Did you analyze and critique your readings? Did you identify any gaps in literature and research? And did you explore the right methodologies, theories, hypotheses, or models? Did you discuss the varying viewpoints? And have you made sure that you have an introduction, body, and conclusion in your review? And of course, the most important, check for your spellings and punctuation. This is really important, that it should be grammatically correct. Thank you all. I'm sure I tried to run like a horse so that I can complete whatever I have to talk about. I hope it was useful for all of you.
Yes, Ma. Thank you very much for this presentation. It's really an honor for us to have you make this exhaustive and educative presentation. Thank you so much for taking your time to prepare this paper, and we have benefited a lot from this paper. I know all the participants are also waiting for the time to ask questions. Thank you for those of our participants that are just joining us. You are currently live at our international conference organized by Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria. And we have already had 2 papers, and the remaining paper is going to be presented by Dr. Megha, who is an associate professor at the Department of Computer, Languages and Systems, University of Seville, Spain. And I have the honor to hand over the mic to her for her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Swan, for the wonderful introduction. So am I audible to everyone?
Yes, yes.
Good. So good evening, everyone. This is Megha from University of Sevilla, Spain. So I would like to thank Dr. Mohammed Israr first and the university to invite me for this talk. So today I am going to discuss about a significant topic related to research, that is open science. So during my presentation, I will be giving you insight about this topic, how useful it is to research. So let's start with the roadmap, which I am going to follow throughout my presentation. So first, I would be discussing about the definition, what are the key principles behind open science, what are various benefits and future of open science, followed by some open science initiatives. So before we start with any topic, let's understand the definition, that what it is, what is the role of it, what is the use. So basically, it is a scientific, it is an act, or it is a movement which allows us, or which allows scientific research and its dissemination accessible to all levels of society or professionals. Now, what do you mean by scientific research here? Scientific research, it may include research publications, data, software, codes, and so on. It is transparent and accessible knowledge. Now, this knowledge, how have we obtained it? This is being shared and developed by collaborative networks. Now, next is, open science supports the concept of reproducibility in research. Now, how do we obtain reproducibility in research? By utilizing the concept of open source, open data, open access publishing. Further, it is a framework where practitioners, researchers, policymakers, civil members, and general public, they can share data, code, and protocols, and they can collaborate with each other to produce scientific knowledge. And this scientific knowledge can be applicable to real-world scenarios also. Now, as I mentioned that it is a new topic, so obviously there are a number of definitions associated with it. So one of them is being given by UNESCO. So according to UNESCO, it is a paradigm, approach, or method of transparent and collaborative research practices based on sharing and collaboration between researchers, institutions, and society. Now, let's go through an example quickly. So geospatial tools like QGIS and GraphGIS, they are open source. It means they are free to use. So the software code for the same can be accessed and it can be enhanced by anyone. Here, QGIS represents a geographic information system which manages, analyzes, and visualizes the data. On the other hand, GraphGIS, it is a desktop geographic system and geospatial analytics library which act as a platform to open science. Now, once we have understood the definition of open science, so let's understand that what are the key principles behind this concept. So as we can see, there are 6 key principles associated with open science. So I will be discussing these key principles one by one. So let's start with open access first. So open access includes our open access publishing, open communication, and then we have this open educational resources. It includes learning and teaching material. Then the third key principle is open data, which includes accessible raw data and accessible results. And then we have open source. Open source includes software codes only. And then fifth one, we have open peer review. Why we want to go with open peer review? Because ultimately it will provide us the quality and it will bring us the transparency in the review process. And the last one we have is open methodology. So it includes research designs and research methods. Now I will be discussing these key principles one by one in detail. So let's move to the next slide now. Yeah. So first key principle is open access. So many of us, like today, we are connected here. So our researchers itself, fine. So each of the researchers know the term open access because it is very crucial for the research. So open access, it enables research publications freely and openly accessible. It includes several publishing models. So I will just take an example of journal. So in case of a journal may be of hybrid mode. So it includes subscription-based publishing model and it may include open access publishing model also. So for example, if some author wants to go ahead with the open access publishing model, so what he needs to do, he has to find or pay some APC, article processing charges, by the researchers institute or by the researchers university or by the funding agency who has supported the research. It has several forms, which include self-archiving, preprint, and postprint. Now, what is self-archiving? So the author's own created copy of the data is available online or openly available online. That is known as self-archiving. Preprint, it is that version of the manuscript which is yet not published at any scientific venue. And postprint is when the content of the own created data, it is identical to the content of the accepted publication, then we call it as postprint. For instance, self-archiving via archive. So most of us must be knowing about the archive repository. So archive repository, it allows you to upload and access preprints, postprints, and white papers. So there is another example for the same, self-archiving options and publishers regulations. So Romeo is one of the example. It is a useful tool which summarizes publishers' copyright and archiving policies. It differentiates between categories by utilizing several colors. One of them is white, yellow, blue, and green. So these colors signify different meanings. So white color represents that self-archiving is not formally allowed. Yellow means authors can archive only preprints, where blue means that authors can only archive postprints. Green means that authors can archive preprints, postprints, and publisher's version as well. Now, when I say open access, so obviously we have observed that it is significantly succeeding, but when there is a lot of success, so obviously there are so many issues that are being associated with this concept. So many of the barriers are there, but one of them is high cost of author publishing charges. As I mentioned earlier, that when we go ahead with this open access publishing in journals, so not all the authors or the researchers or the universities can afford to pay the APC charges for the same. So this acts as a barrier for many of the researchers. Now let's move to the next key principle. So we have open educational resources. It includes teaching, learning, and research material, which is made available openly, and a Creative Commons license is being introduced to describe how it can be utilized. Then the third key principle is open data. When I say open data means we are talking about research data here. So research data is freely available to access, use, and share. And this data is transparent and accessible so that others, users or the researchers, they can use and republish the same without any restriction of copyright, patent, or any license. For example, abstract description of a dataset can be accessed online. However, you cannot access the entire dataset. For this, we need to request the corresponding author and the researcher of the research, corresponding author of that particular research. Upon the request, that author and researcher will decide that what part of the data set he or she is going to give the access, depending upon the kind of data set. Now, open data, it works on FAIR principles. What are FAIR principles? One of the professor has already explained it in her presentation. So FAIR principles, it is a set of guiding rules and principles which are agreed upon by the research community itself for sharing the data. It tells that how data should ideally be made open. FAIR stands for findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. Findable means the first step in using or reusing a data is to find the data. Accessible means once the data is identified, the required data is identified, he or she may need to understand how do we access the data. It can be done with the help of authorization or authentication. Third one is interoperable. The data should interoperate with applications for analysis, for processing, and for publishing. And the last one is reusable. It includes reuse of data. Why do we need reuse of data? Because how can we reuse the data basically? So the researchers and authors who have done the research in a particular field, they need to provide as much as details of their research work, including their data set, what is the research design, what is the research methodology, what is the software code, so that the new researchers, they can use, access, and they can reproduce and replicate the same. Now, the next key principle is open source. So computer software codes which are made publicly and freely available. And why are they made publicly and freely available? So that others can access, use, and enhance as required just by adding an open source license. Now, there is an example for the same. So research software, we call it as scientific software also. It means software products, they are developed with a single aim that they should analyze data such as Python code, and these developed softwares can be released as open source software. Now, the next key principle is open peer review. So many of us must be aware of this term, peer review. Open peer review means the review process is same, but whatever the steps which are being taken in the review process, that has to be made available, open for the authors and for the reviewers, so as to bring more quality and more transparency. It includes more collaboration and input from the scientific community, alternative review methods to make traditional closed peer review more transparent and accountable. Now let's see how we can obtain this open peer review. So first thing is that we can remove the anonymity of authors and reviewers. So for example, there is a platform where we remove the anonymity. We tell the affiliations, the names of the authors and the reviewers, and then the reviews are also being shared between them. So this can be one of the steps towards open peer review. It will be more openness between the reviewers and authors. And then actual reviews public means whatever the reviews which have been prepared, they have to be made publicly available so as to allow direct interaction between the authors and reviewers. It happens in programming community, but yet not accepted in academic journals and conferences. Accountability and recognition. Once the reviewers knows that his or her affiliations are being open, so the reviewers are keen about the reviews. So and accordingly, they will get the recognition for the same also. Making manuscripts public before the review phase. It includes preprints, and for which we have servers like Archive, BioArchive, and so on. Now let's move to the last one, that is open methodology. The importance of transparent and replicable research methods. So it includes research designs and research methods. It emphasizes on transparency, collaboration, and openness. Transparency in research design and methods, how we can obtain it. So the researchers, they should provide in detail or the description of the designs that they have utilized and the methods that they have utilized during their research, so that the other users, researchers can access the same to reproduce and replicate the same. Next point is sharing of data and materials. It includes data sets, software, codes, and material. Next, we have collaborative platform. How can we support open methodology? By having collaborative platform. So this platform allows multiple scientists and researchers to work together openly on the same project. And then we have open peer review of methods. So So these were the 6 key principles which I have discussed now. Now let's move to benefits of open science. So I would be discussing these benefits one by one. So first one is improved research transparency and reproducibility. And how are we going to obtain it? It can be obtained by accessible data and methods, and reduction of research misconduct. Reduction of research misconduct, it includes data fabrication and so on. And then we have next benefit as accelerated scientific progress. Due to this open science, what is happening, as soon as the research publications are being published due to this open access publishing, these publications can be made available. These publications can be made available online openly as early as possible, so that the users and the researchers can have early access to this publication. So it leads to faster knowledge dissemination. And then we have enhanced collaboration and community building. So it includes collaboration across borders. So as I have mentioned, that open science provides you a platform where multiple scientists and researchers, they work together openly on the same project. So the collaboration across the borders takes place. And the next benefit is enhanced research visibility and impact. See, when I say that research data or research work, when it is available openly, so it means wider audience can reach out to the same, wider audience can access the same, use the same, share the same. So that's how we get more audience to open access publications. And then higher citation rates. It has been observed that the publications or the research work or the research data which is open access, they have got more count of citations as compared to other model of publications. And then the next benefit is improved engagement and trust. So it includes public access to research. So as soon as some research publication, it is being accepted, so it has to be openly available so that the general public can access the same. Next one is transparency fosters trust. As I mentioned, that entire process of the research has been openly available, starting from the data set, what is the research design which has been used, research methodology, source code, what are the samples. So once these all things are available to a user and researcher, so it allows a researcher to trust the process, that how these researchers have led to the conclusion or the result of their research. And the next benefit is sustainability and long-term accessibility. It includes preservation of research outputs. So as I mentioned, data sets, research publications, they are made available online for a longer time. And then continuous improvement means, for example, a problem has been resolved by a set of researchers with some technique, but the same problem will keep on getting resolved by other researchers, maybe with new techniques. So that's how the continuous improvement on the same topic is being taken place. Now, these were the benefits that I have spoken right now. Now let's see that what is the future of open science. The first one is financial barriers in open access publishing. As I mentioned, that this article processing charges. So this has to be borne by a researcher's university, researcher institutions, or the research funding agency who has sponsored the research. But this is not available for all the researchers or the universities or the institution. So the researchers which does not have this facility, they may face barrier, they may face problems to go ahead with this open access publishing. Now, next one is challenges in open data accessibility. For example, we want to keep data sets in a repositories, but in order to have that infrastructure, some institutes, universities, and researchers, they may face challenges for the same. And the next one is increased use of preprint servers. So the future of open science includes increased adoption of open peer review, community-driven open science, because the people who are working in some particular domain, for example, healthcare, so they have a proper community to work upon. And then emphasize on open data sharing. The future includes growing support for open science, set up rewards and incentives. For rewards and incentives, I would like to quote 2 examples here. ACM has already started ACM batch system. So based upon the kind of data sample codes which is provided by the researcher, so the ACM batch system, they provide some badges to the research article. Similar way, incentives can be started for the same. People who are going with the open science approach, they should get the incentives for the same. So that's how we can cultivate this research of open science among researchers. Now, these are the open science initiatives. One of them is Open Air. This is the community which is being created by the European organization itself. Then we have Fixture, then we have Zenodo, and then Archive and BioArchive. These are the repositories for preprints, postprints, and white papers. Then we have Publons, is one of the initiatives of open science for peer review process. Then we have ResearchGate, which is a community for the researchers, and then so on. So that's all from my topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. It is indeed an award-winning presentation. Thank you very much for it. And you've really done justice to the topic discussed, even though maybe the time is too limited for you, but you were able to successfully deliver. And I would like to apologize to our speakers for not giving them enough time to make their presentations. But I promise next time, your time will be 30 minutes, inshallah. And then it is now time for question and answers. And for our participants, if you have any question, you can type the question. We can see it there. And then we read it for the speakers. And you may wish to specify the person, the speaker you want to respond to your question, if you have not done so. All right, then we are going to look at the questions. So the first question reads, we believe that AI came to stay, and integrating it in the academic activities, it is a welcome idea. So how can a researcher identify the right AI tool and its features? How can a researcher identify the right AI tool and its features? That is the question from Ali Idris. So I don't know who is going to respond to this question, but you may wish to respond. Any speaker can respond to this question because there is no specification as to who is going to respond. Thank you.
I think Dr. Nada is the right person.
Okay. I will give a response to this question because when we are talking about artificial intelligence, I can say now today that each one digital tool has that add-in of AI. So what we use today has that add of artificial intelligence. How to choose the best? That is very hard to answer because today we have a lot of them. Like example, last year we got the ChatGPT. So any question we can put in the ChatGPT. Also now, many academicians, scholars are using the Magic School, the Brisk. So for me, when I'm talking and thinking about this, you need to try some of them because maybe the tool which is good for me is not good for you. So I try, like example, ChatGPT, and also in the same time I try Magic School, which has also the like ChatGPT, but it's called Rana. It was similar. It was similar the answer. So it depends about you. So it is very I say it is very hard today talk about this AI and what is the best for us. For me, like a professor, now I can say what is happening in Europe. In Europe, we have a law about artificial intelligence, and in new academic year 2024-2025, we will start with using AI. So let us see. Let us see. We have a big project called Brain Project. So it will again come from all of us. We will give our suggestions. We will try. We will try with new and. We will support. We will support a tool which the ministry will give us to academicians for the free version. But for students, I still think that when making the research or something, it is better. It is better to go on the traditional way. I can say what we are using now, not use lot the Chat GPT or some of them, because we know that our thinking, our creativity will be losing on this way if we get a habit. And also who says that all that informations are correct? Also the AI, some tools have the opportunity to give you the whole database, but some also didn't. So this question is really, it is really hard to say which one is the best for us researchers. Maybe our Megha, Dr. Megha, do
Okay,
you
thank
have
you very
any
much.
opinion of the best?
Okay,
Okay, then we are moving to the next question.
for this screen.
Yes.
Emma,
Okay, this question
take note.
is to Mam Busan. My question is that please tell us some demerits of open science and what are the precautions that researchers should take care of.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah, as I mentioned that open science is a new topic. There is no standard guidelines for the same. So if we look into journals, not many of the journals has still adopted the culture of open science. So there are few issues because there are no standard guidelines for the same. Not all the journals, not all the organization or institutes, they have some common guidelines to follow. So it varies from journal to journal. It varies from platform to platform. So there are no fixed guidelines for the same. And if you talk about the demerits, so as I mentioned that open peer review, that reviews are being open to researchers and reviewers at the same time on the same platform. So this is right now happening in the programming community only, but not applicable to academics, journals, and conferences. So we don't know when we bring this to academic journals and conferences, how the researchers and the reviewers are going to take it. Maybe on the positive note or maybe on the negative note. So that can be one of the trouble. And the other one is incentive system, because only few of the journals, they have started this batch system. ASM batch system is one of them. And then we have open science framework. So not all the journals have yet accepted it. So the authors who are publishing in these journals, good journals, they are getting that batch systems for the same. And the others who are not able to publish in the same, so they are still away from those batch systems. So the quality has to reach by publishing the papers in those journals, or maybe this batch system has to be introduced in most of the journals so that it motivates the researchers to go with the quality research and to bring your data available to everyone.
Okay, thank you. Then the next question says, the question is directed to Professor Rana Khan. The question is, what constitutes plagiarism in research methodology?
Thank you so much. Elias. Thank you so much, Elias, for asking this question. Yes, a lot of times when we are reading, we forget to imbibe a particular concept or idea in our research without acknowledging that idea from where it came, or acknowledging the author from where it came. So it's really crucial that we give credit to the right source, and this is where the correct collection and storing your information comes in. If you remember, I shared a matrix. So always, whenever you're reading, make sure that you're noting down all the key concepts, and with the publisher, with the right author, the date and everything. So if you are not giving credit or acknowledging the source of the research, it counts to plagiarism. Any kind of source you happen to mention in your research, any kind of research methodology would count to plagiarism. So you need to be very sure about whenever you're reading literature, make sure to store all your research, whatever you have read, all the key concepts, everything that you're trying to prove through that source. Make sure to take adequate notes and cite them properly. Make sure to have a good bibliographical record at the end of your paper. Because if you happen to ignore that, then it will count to plagiarism. Unconsciously, sometimes we plagiarize. It's not that we are doing it intentionally, but sometimes it is unintentional. We forget to take note of those things that we read, and they stay with us, and we forget to mention and credit the right source. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you so much for responding to this question. We so much wanted to take as many questions as possible, but because of the time factor, we would like to say that these are the only questions we can take for now. But I would like to, before we go, I would like to ask our speakers to please share their slides to our participants so that we can read more and understand your presentations. Thank you so much. And the next item before we go is a vote of thanks by an important faculty in this university, in the person of Hajja Maimunat S. Bello. She's going to give the vote of thanks. So, you have the mic.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much to our participants and everyone who has contributed in one way or the other to ensuring the success of this program. We can't really thank you enough for this wonderful opportunity that you have presented to all of us. Thank you once again and stay blessed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right.